I want to tell you about a horseshoeing. See, this is kind of like career day. I told you about the rodeos. I told you about veterinarians. Well, this is my horseshoeing experience. I got this book on how to shoot horses and some tools. And one horse later, I was retired. I was not only tired, but I was retired. I recall that fateful day. I thought I'd save some money. It always galled me some to pay for the shoeing of old Dunny. So to the horse and mule supply, I rode that ornery steed. There would be the tools to buy. Yes, everything I'd need to nail some iron up on his feet. It didn't look too hard. To save some money would be sweet, but I'm here to tell you, part it work as easy as it looks, nor cheaper neither one. Ain't something you learn from books, and it dang sure wasn't fun. I bought a book on what to do and what I'd need to get. But when that clerk was finally through, well, I nearly had a fit. Then an anvil that would pale the price of any cow. I took my cattle to the sale. I'm raising anvils now. Shoes and nails I bought, of course, and so many tools to haul. Then when I packed them on my horse, he nearly had to crawl. The tools upon the saddle seat, the anvil on his side. I guess I'd have to use my feet, no place for me to ride. As I led Dunny in his load, my dogs were getting tired. That shoer passed me on the road, the one I should have hired. I said, I won't be needing of your service anymore. I said, you won't be bleeding me of money like before. He yelled back sarcastically as I pulled that stubborn nag. Knock him down, boy, don't you see? He'll be easier to drag. I said, I see it brings you joy. I guess you think it's funny. I'll show you one of them 6 boys all call you easy money. That night when I got home, I read that book from end to end. Next morning I was out of bed. My task I would begin. That book had said to grab his foot and put it on my knee. Against his hoof, the other foot, my hands in would be free. I grabbed his ankle with both hands and pulled with all my might, till my muscles felt like rubber bands and my head was getting light. Then he raised his hoof a foot or two and stamped it on my toe. I called him every name I knew and some I didn't know. Then with his teeth he grabbed me and he shook me like a dog to set me free a hopping like a big one-legged frog. Well, I knew my foot was shattered when I heard that sickening thud. By now my clothes were tattered and my boot filled up with blood. But I am not a quitter, so I headed for his hind. But with one hateful look, that critter made me change my mind. His lip was curled, his neck was bowed, his ears were laid flat. His yellow teeth to me he showed just like a mountain cat. My lips were thin, my eyes were wide, I looked just like an owl. I said, I think I'll save my hide. I'm throwing in the towel. With both hind feet he caught my seat and raised me from the ground till I could see the dusty street and the blacksmith shop in town. Well, it wasn't long till I became reacquainted with the earth. I called out that shoer's name, thanked heaven for his birth. I hit the ground running to that smithy I did go. I said I was just a funnin'. Why, heck, I didn't know it'd be so hard to shoe a horse. It'd be so dang much trouble. Well, I'll give you all my tools, of course, and then I'll pay you double. If you will shoe that center, my gratitude I'll show. And you can have my dinner, 'cause today I'm eating crow. Who's got questions? Somebody, yes ma'am? No? Somebody, did anybody want to tell me a story about something that happened about horses and farms or whatever? What have you got? Tell me something. Huh? What book? Oh, yeah. Oh. What else?
Can you tell us that you ever got hurt? You got hurt?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I had lots of fun getting hurt, I guess. You know? One time in Tulsa, Oklahoma, I was riding a bucking horse and he was jumping and kicking. And when the whistle blew, I pitched the rein over his neck and bailed out and hit in the sand. Oh, my head was as high as that ceiling when I came off that horse, and I hit in the sand, and my foot, I felt it pop. I looked down, and my foot was sideways on my leg, and my boot heel was facing me. But the only thing holding my foot on my leg was my skin. And I looked at it, and I thought, oh, no. So they took me to the doctor. First, I had to get them to come get me first. I was hollering, help, help, and the announcer said, get up, boy, we're going to buck some more horses. help, help. So finally they got me to the hospital. I was going to be tough for them. I said, I don't need no anesthetic. I don't need any painkiller. About 30 minutes later, that doctor left. That thing started hurting. Woo! Boy, the minutes seemed like hours. The seconds seemed like hours. And then pretty soon, I said, hey, nurse, you're going to have to get me something for this pain. She said, nope, too bad, too late. Doctor went home. I said, you better get him on the phone because there's something big happening around here. I can't stand this. So they went and got him, sure enough, gave me some painkiller. And they operated on my leg, put 3 screws in it. I told that doctor, I said, well, look, I'm a rodeo rider. So if you can't get my ankle to move, because I couldn't see how they could fix it when it was just wiggling around on the end of my leg like that. I couldn't see how they could fix it. I said, just lock it up, but make sure it's turned out so I can feel spur. He said, no, I think we can fix it. So they fixed it, and it still works. Sometimes it hurts, but it don't work. It works. And anyway, another time that I got hurt was I walked in a pen with a horse, and he kicked me in the mouth and knocked my teeth out. This tooth was in the middle of my face. It broke this palate, but I could shake my top teeth. What was left of it. And it broke my cheekbone, and air came out somehow through my sinuses, and my face swelled up that big around with air from through my cheek. Yep, for real. I mean, and that was a terrible much pain there. Breaking my face was rough. And that time the horse kicked me in the nose and broke my nose and knocked it over the side of my face. And I went to the doctor, and he went, and my eyes went, and so he said, hey, I can set your nose for $500, or you can go home and look in the mirror and set it yourself for free. So that's why my nose is a little crooked. I did it myself. So anyway, that's just a few of my many injuries. This hand, I broke this finger. I was rigging a bucking horse, pulling the back cinch, and he jumped against the chute and broke my finger. Well, I ride with this hand, in the saddle bronc riding with my reining hand, see? So I got on that horse with a broke finger in 1 second in the bronc ride. So I figured, well, I didn't need to fix it because it worked all right then, so I didn't go to the doctor. That's why I talked to him. And I can't think of all the injuries I've had. One time I got my face cut all the way through from here to here in a car wreck. Made my mouth go crossways. It just to the bone all the way through, from here to here. And I run under tree limbs and had my knocked off horses. I've had horses step on the back of my head so hard it left grass burns on my forehead. I hung up the saddle broncs, dragging down the pin and stepping on my head, but I didn't worry. I knew when they stepped on my head hard enough, they'd pull my boot off and knock it loose. So I had to have stitches in my head for that. I've had them hit me in the head with the bridle on the horse, and had to have stitches for that. I had over 200 stitches just in my mouth, but I don't know how many I've had all over my head. It's amazing the medical science that I can even carry on a conversation, much less walk around.
We have a special presentation today for Mr. Kahla for coming today.
I told you the other day when you called that our students have been writing poetry. They were so inspired. Wow. And some of them are wannabe cowboys, maybe. And most of these students, I think, are just hustles. And we haven't made it a little book for you what it takes to be a cowboy. Mr. Bob Kahla. Some of the students are in here, I think, right here. I mean,
Very, very much. I really appreciate this.
Well, I'd like to ask you about your writing process. About sometimes students have the idea that the first thing they write down has to be, that's the way it stays. It just stays just like that.
No,
And it's got to come perfect. But that's not true.
No, you can just use that to get started. Just start writing. Just start writing. You may write for days before you finally write something you want to keep. But if you just keep writing, keep letting that flow, the thoughts flow. If you want to outline, sometimes if I have a story, I write a poem from the story. And so I have an outline. The story is the outline. But sometimes I just write free flow. Just whatever comes in my head, I just write. Just kind of, this thought leads to the next. And sometimes that's how I get started, is I'll write the last verse first. I even write poems sometimes rhyming backwards. I'll write the last line first of a verse, and then the next line, then the next line. Write it backwards. So if you just write, you can just write and go with it.
Do you rewrite?
Oh yeah, rewrite. Like this book, for instance, this novel. I wrote this thing, I was too dumb to learn to type not dumb, but I mean too hard-headed to learn to type. So I thought, well, I'm going to write a book, 45,000 words. And I wrote it with a ballpoint pen. Then I wrote it 6 more times, 7 times with a ballpoint pen. Then I got smart and wrote it with a pencil so I could erase. Then I tried to find somebody to type it. And I couldn't get anybody to type it like I wanted to. So I had to learn how to type. It took me a long time to learn how to type good enough where I could type this book. You see, I got out of school without some of the tools that I needed. If I'd have learned to type in school, I'd have had that and I wouldn't have wasted all that time having to learn how to type. But anyway.
Do you ever work on the computer?
Yes, yeah, see, and I had to learn how to work on the computer. God bless you for knowing how to learn to work the computer. When I got ready to use the computer, my wife called me one morning at 4 o'clock in the morning. I had that coat hanger out that computer. Boy, I had that coat hanger all rolled up. You sit over down there, I'm going to tell you what. I was talking to that computer.
They're not always that friendly.
No.
We wanted to give you something to remind you of Jasper.
Oh, great.
And we think you sure can, because we want kids to see it. We know that maybe Cowboys always wear the kind of shirt you wear today, but maybe this would go under that shirt.
That's great. That's
Soak
great.
up the sweat when you work.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Go Cowboy.
Anyway, you can tell.
Yes.
Boy, that was fun. Just arrow, too.
All right. All right. This is a real honor, and this too, I'll treasure this. Thank you so much.
Our only regret today is that all of our students haven't had a chance to see you. We just don't have a large enough place to put everybody in front of us. But we'll give you an encore. Okay? All right. Thank you so much.
Mexican yodel.
That's hard.
Cattle call is actually the way I call cattle is woo, woo. When you ride the head of a herd of cattle, the lead rider calls that call. Woo! That can be heard over long distances, and the cattle will follow the rider.
I think that sounds like 8th grade lunch here.
Oh, dear Lord.
That's tight.
That's tight, man. Power is tight.
Thank Bob Kahla for coming, and you can have the chance to go back to your room and get your books and everything before you.
We have some action announcements you'll have to listen for.
But the whole story I wrote in 30 days.